Hey, fourth graders! Today we are moving on into lesson 10 or chapter 10. Today's lesson 10.1, I'm looking at page 549. I love this lesson and how it has all of the vocabulary right here for us to look at and to help us out as we are working through this lesson. Now, this should look pretty familiar to you guys. This is something that we were doing during MTSS time for a couple of weeks in preparation for when we were going to be doing our state assessments, and didn't think we would have all this information before your state assessment. So this should be pretty familiar, most of this unit, and hopefully it flies by for you. I want to go through some of these vocabulary key points here. I'm really glad that you have these books at home so that you're able to use the vocabulary right in front of you. I'll go through it really quick. I know you can read it. So we've got a point is an exact location in a space. So if you'll notice there, point A, it's just a dot, and then they always label it with a letter or sometimes a number, but usually a letter. Then we've got a line, and you have to remember for a line, it's really important that a line never ends. It will never end. It goes on and on for an infinity, an infinite amount of time. I'm jumbling all over my words this morning. Anyway, so with a line, you should see an arrow on both ends. All right, so it'll follow a straight path like it says here, nice and straight. The points for the line will be within the line, not on the outside of those arrows, but it will have the arrows on the outside. So line BC or CB, you can say it either way. It doesn't matter whether you say BC or CB unless it gives you a specific instruction on whether you are moving from left to right or right to left. A line segment is part of a line between two endpoints. So you'll notice the biggest difference between the line and the line segment is that on both ends of the segment, you've got D and E, but it ends on those points. For the line, you've got arrows on the outside of your points telling you that this line will continue on outside of those 2 points. For a line segment, it ends on those 2 points. Okay, so it does not go on forever and ever. And then a ray is a part of a line that has one endpoint continues without end in one direction. So your ray should have a point on one end and an arrow on the other. So you'll see on one end we have FG. You've got on one end the F is the ending point. The G is the other point. However, the G is on the inside of the arrow, and there's an arrow on the outside telling us that it will go on forever in that direction. And all of these three, a line, line segment, and a ray, are very straight. They will not curve. Okay, so next, we're going to flip on over to our next page here, page 550, and we've got angles. And we've been working a lot with angles. Actually, you guys just finished chapter 11 where we were measuring angles with our protractor, and you guys were doing a lot of work with our angles. And so this is the part that I think will be extremely familiar to you. And you guys did really well with this on IXL, so I do expect that this shouldn't be too terribly daunting for you. So we've got our angles. You've got your right angle. I guess an angle itself is formed by two rays or line segments that have an endpoint, the vertex, the Q. Right there in that top example, PQR, the Q is your vertex. It's where they meet. All right, a right angle. We've talked about this probably 1.5 million times. It will be marked with a square in the corner. If it is an unmarked angle, it could still potentially be a right angle, but no other kind of angle will ever be marked with a square. Only right angles are. So you have your right angle, it's 90 degrees, straight up and down, looks like an L. It's marked with a square on the inside. A straight angle is your 180 degree angle. It is a flat line, goes straight across. An acute angle is less than a right angle, so it's smaller, it's cute. And then your obtuse angle is greater than a right angle. It'll be a degree that is larger than 90. Again, these are really familiar to you, so I don't want to spend too much time explaining it when I know you've got the vocabulary there to help yourself out, right along with your own prior knowledge from the work that we've already done in the classroom. So, for this lesson, we've got a few different examples here that you'll have to go through. It says to draw and label an example of the figures, and if you look at the symbol right above your two letters, we've got number 2 here, X, Y, and you can see that above that there is the symbol for a line. I know that it's a symbol for a line because it has an arrow on each end of it. It does not have a dot. It doesn't have an ending point. So all I will need to do here is draw a straight line, draw an arrow on the end of each one, put dots on the inside, put an X there and a Y there, and that's all there is to it. Should make my Y look a little different than my X. That's all there is to it. And then here we go. We've got an obtuse angle K. All right, so when it says obtuse angle K, you're thinking, well, a lot of times we see angles like with 3 letters in them. But you can name your angle by its vertex. You can take your angle and name it by the point in the middle. So obtuse means that I'm going to have it straight on the bottom. It needs to be bigger than 90 degrees. So I'm going to draw mine bigger than 90 degrees. Yours does not have to look exactly like mine. However, you do have to have that dot right there and label it K. Now I'm going to put my arrows on the end and I'm done. You could make that look like any obtuse angle you want. As long as you make it an obtuse angle, it has to be bigger than 90 degrees. Then we've got a right angle CDE. So this should look like a straight up and down like this. I'm going to mark it with a square so that everybody knows, even if I'm off by just a little bit, I do intend for it to represent a right angle. I'm going to put a point right there since I have 3 points. I'm going to do C, D, E. My C kind of looks a little bit more like an O there, doesn't it? So that's all there is to that, to drawing and labeling them. Now, your next task will be to name a line segment, and we're going to use this picture over here to help us out. Okay, we're looking for a line segment, okay, which means it should have a point on both ends. Okay, and so when we name a line segment, it can be any of these, because if you look at all 4 of those line segments, they all have points on the end. So you could choose TV, you could choose VW, you could choose WU, UT, TU, however you want to say it. But the point is, all of them are actually line segments. So I'm going to draw a line above here and put dots on the end of each of them. Okay, and I'm going to erase that really quick. I'm just going to give one answer because I only really need 2. TV. All right, so then our next task for the same figure, we are to name a right angle. Well, we've got one marked. Okay, so the easiest thing to do, I could do one of 2 things here. I'm going to use this one. Even though this one over here kind of looks like it might be a right angle, this one over here is the one that's marked. So that's the one I'm going to use. And I can write this in 2 different ways. I could write it as right angle U. Okay, angle U. Okay, or I can write it with 3 letters. I can do right angle T-U-V or, oh, not V, excuse me, T-U-W or W-U-T. You cannot do W-T-U. Okay, so that is all there is to it. If you look down here, and you get confused because you're asked to name a ray, a line, a right angle, a line segment, acute angle, use the vocabulary that's right over here on the last 2 pages to help yourself out. So, today for your homework, you'll need to do numbers 2 through 9. And that's all there is to it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.